What does it mean to truly belong? Pragalya Arumugam explores the power of community, the importance of listening, and the voices we too often overlook.
The first time someone told me, "You don't look deaf," I was caught by surprise. Was it a compliment? A challenge? A misunderstanding? But in that moment, I realized one thing. People had already decided to tell my story before I could tell it myself. I'm Pragalya Arumugam, and I'm a senior in high school. Growing up, I felt a divide between the two worlds, the deaf world and the hearing, never feeling like I quite belonged in either. Communities are a place of belonging, but within them, smaller sub-communities can get often overshadowed, their unique struggles unnoticed. I know this firsthand. As someone who uses cochlear implants and has hearing loss, I've experienced this within the deaf and hard of hearing community. One instance and one experience I had was when I was at a speech and debate competition for the deaf and hard of hearing in Central Ohio. I remember as the auditorium buzzed with energy and excitement, families and contestants coming together to share their stories, seek personal connection, and uplift one another. But in that moment, I noticed a great divide. On one side of the room, I noticed ASL signers conversing fluidly across the room. But on the other side, I noticed people who used verbal language and who had deafness as well. And as I sat in this voluntary design group to me, I realized, why was there this divide in a community that had so much to relate to? This made me reflect on an even earlier realization I had as a child in elementary school. Growing up, I realized my narrative of being deaf did not fit the one that society had outlined for me. I remember my peers didn't even know what it was. To them, deafness meant one of three things: ASL, hearing aids, or complete silence. And again, didn't fit any of those check boxes. But what happens when society reduces an entire community to an oversimplified, generalized image? This revealed a deeper issue. I realized this misconception of deafness being a linear experience wasn't one limited to the hearing world, but within the deaf community. And I realized that was a big issue. So I went to the elementary schools in my district. I was curious to distribute these pre-surveys to assess where children lay in their baseline knowledge of hearing loss. I wanted to see if the same misconceptions and attitudes about hearing loss and the misconceptions and stereotypes had resurfaced. And to my surprise, 83.3% of children indicated they had little to no confidence on identifying what hearing loss meant, why it mattered, or what even it meant at all. And even more surprising, the handful of students who indicated otherwise, they said the same statements. Deaf people are mute. Deaf people can sign. And deaf people only wear hearing aids. And this is a big issue because we live in an age where technology provides us access to many communities that surround us today. And this is just something that I really wanted to change in my own community. But I realized this also holds for assistive technology as well. Raise your hand and tell me just if you have any idea what these two technologies are, or if you can tell the difference between a cochlear implant or hearing aid. Okay, so it's just a few of you in the crowd. So on the right here is a hearing aid. It works much like a microphone. It amplifies sound and makes it louder. But on the left hand here, this is a cochlear implant. It does not work like a microphone, and it does not amplify sound. Instead, it bypasses the damaged parts of the inner ear, stimulating the auditory nerve, which then sends signals to your brain, perceiving it as sound. Pretty fascinating, right? But again, technology has played such a big part in promoting the communities that have surrounded us today. There was no awareness for the deaf and hard of hearing community in this past decade. And the more we learn, the more we realize we have so much further to learn. But again, these assistive technologies can become a point of division. For some, they're seen as the access to sound, verbal communication, and a world of verbal language. But to others, they represent something far, far, far more controversial, an attempt to erase deaf identity. Some people in the deaf community can perceive this as an attempt to erase deaf identity because it represents the hearing world's reluctance to engage and accommodate with these individuals truly on their terms. I've heard some people even refer to my cochlear implants as a form of cultural genocide. But I realized, what does that mean for people who are like me, who exist between these gray spaces? For some, we were just people who had deafness and we were verbal, and we weren't deaf enough to be part of the deaf community. We didn't use ASL. We went to traditional schools, and we spoke in verbal language. However, even though we had supportive peers, mentors, teachers, I would not even be here today giving this TED Talk if it weren't for the many health professionals who have made me and found my voice today. Dr. Aaron Benson, who gave my ENT pediatric surgery for my cochlear implants. Dr. Julie Eder, who is amongst the crowd with us today, my audiologist. Ms. Jennifer Carson, she's my reach specialist intervention. And also the many, many, many great professionals in the field today. But even though we had this access to a supportive community, there was only so much we could express with our struggles of being deaf. Thus, our struggles as deaf individuals felt minimized, where we were caught between the space of in-betweenness. So what exactly did I do about this? I decided to create a community for people like me who existed between these gray spaces. I created Here to Connect. And this was a community for people like myself who existed between these gray spaces. Even though I learned ASL, even though I embraced deaf culture and learned the language and embraced deaf culture and history, I still wanted a place where I could just be myself, someone who is deaf and verbal, and not having to conform to either the hearing world or the deaf world. So this became an outlet for children like me who attended traditional schools all their years in education. And we found a place to connect and really bond over these experiences that were often overlooked in our growing up. Eventually, it expanded to a broader public, where we hosted element visits, we hosted sensory kit drives to the pediatric patients in the audiology wing to help them combat overstimulation. And just past 2024, in December, the City of Dublin recognized our efforts with a bridge lighting on Dublin's Link Bridge, which lit up in purple and gold, representing their solidarity with Here to Connect's mission to amplify the deaf and hard of hearing voices that exist around us today. Listening encompasses challenging perceptions and stories that we think we know. For so long, people have defined what it means to be deaf, limiting it to ASL, cochlear implants, hearing loss, and cochlear implants, hearing aids, all of those labels. But in truth, deafness is just so much more than these simple words. It exists on a spectrum. It's a rich, complex identity. And when we limit our understanding of these communities to these simple labels, we confine our understanding of these communities. We limit and we miss out on the diversity and complexities of those communities. So today I want to invite you to be your own advocate. We all belong to various communities, and there's often going to be some misconception or stereotype that your community has faced. So take a step forward, start honest discussions, and talk about those communities. A simple conversation can go a long way. I'll leave you with a final question. What will you listen to? Will you listen to the stories that are most loudest, clear, and most familiar? Or will you listen to the stories that are challenging your perceptions, overlooked, and caught between the gray spaces? Thank you.